Welcome back, everybody. Tuesday morning show, final half hour. We saved the best for last. I was mentioned off the top of the show for our next guest. We've been doing weekly spots on my show since I started doing daily shows, whether it was on the radio way back when to now. And he's always been gracious with his time and always gives us a good interview, which is all we could ask for. Steve Laqua joins us, head football coach at Minnesota State University, Moorhead. The Dragons open up 2025 Thursday at Northern Michigan, which for those that don't know, you can give us where are you going? What town are you going to?
Marquette.
Marquette. See, I almost stumped him on the first question out of the chute.
I get on the bus, and then we just kind of arrive there, and I just follow whatever. It's always good for a good interview. Hopefully, by the end of the year, we've got it to at least one great interview.
Well,
that's what we're shooting for.
I'll stay away from any conversation on candy because I already know where you're at with Halloween because we won't go in that direction because you got the masses fired up on that. First, it's great to see you. Second, how did camp go, and to describe the anticipation for Thursday night?
Honestly, really great camp. We felt like we had a really good young group of players that just seemed like they got it early. They figured it out. We were able to progress really quickly. I think, what's important for us that we raised the floor, right, of our depth, of our special teams. And I thought that part worked great. There are some things we did different practice-wise that I think really clicked and hit. We'd kind of been moving that way in the last year. We kind of leaned in and went full bore into it. I thought that was great. We had some sessions where offensively we went against 13 and 14 defenders. And so it was a real challenge, for our offense, for Jack to find space. There's not a lot of room for error. And so it was really challenging. And I think we got a lot better. We developed a lot more guys on defense because we're playing more out there. We had a lot higher challenge level. And so I think those were some things that came out of it that I think really put us feeling good about going into game one, that we've had some challenging game-like situations. We've had some great development. And so I think, not that you ever feel great going into game one, but I think this is probably as good as we felt. And maybe that's because of having a lot of seniors. A big senior class at 22 guys makes a big difference.
Did that go into the scheduling of this, that you're going to go on the road with a big senior, and this is not a usual road trip that you have? Did that go into accounting to schedule a game like this?
Well, when you're trying to find a home and home, then you got to figure out who's playing home when. And for us, it seemed to make sense. We had a veteran crew to be able to go on a long road trip that's difficult. We certainly didn't handle that very well in McKendree last year. And so be able to do that with a veteran crew, a veteran quarterback in a dome on the road, it seemed to make sense for us to do it this year and then have the return trip next year when, you're going to have a new quarterback starting, and that gets to be in the friendly kinds of confines of Nemzik and be able to do that. And so I think that did go into the thought process.
All right. So I'm trying to think, the last time that you coached a game indoors, would that have been Dakota Bowl 2010? Is that accurate?
It would. You hit it right.
Wow.
And the last second field goal, last college game that I coached in the Dome was when I was at Crookston against MSUM in the Metrodome. And so that
Holy cow. Wow.
2004, I think. So it hasn't been a lot of Dome games. I think 3 Dome games for me since 2005.
So the Superior Dome is where you're heading. That's where Northern Michigan plays its games. For your quarterback to be in a climate-controlled environment, you got to be just licking your chops potentially what you could do on Thursday night.
Well, you're definitely glad that you don't have to worry about that part. Hopefully that's an advantage for the Dragons. Now, at the same time, I've been in indoor facilities as a player, as a coach for a long time over at the Fargo Dome. Those are different. It hits different when you're in. You just can't really prepare for that unless you have your own indoor stadium, which we don't. And so it is going to be a difference. Our guys are going to have to be ready for that. We've talked about it. And so it's going to be one of the obstacles. But, if you can overcome that obstacle, hey, you don't have to worry about rain, wind, any of that stuff. So that's definitely a good thing.
We were chatting before you came on, Steve, about the attention around your quarterback. I know you addressed it with your team. Can you tell us about that, of how you addressed it, knowing the NFL scouts were going to come to Moorhead to watch Jack this entire season?
Yeah, well, I showed him a video from the movie Cars. It's a cartoon race car movie that I think they probably all watched as kids. And there's this scene where customers come to this lone deserted place, and they all have to act all crazy and weird trying to get their attention. And I just said, we don't need to have it look like this, fellas. Like, they're coming here, they're going to look at Jack. The rest of us can just do our deal and play. They're not here to see us, they're here to see him. Let's just go about business as normal. And honestly, guys have done a really great job of it. And I think, we've had 20 some practices, and I think there's only been 3 days that we haven't had a scout here. So it has been normal that a scout's been here. And I think our guys have handled that really well, including Jack.
What are they asking you about him, the scouts?
Their biggest thing is they want to know the character piece, what type of person is he? How does he handle adversity? What's he like as a leader? All the non-football stuff. They can stand there and watch him throw and they'll figure that stuff out. They just want to know, that he's as good a kid as he is player. And he is. He's got no red flags. He's everything that you want, like your prototypical type guy that you want in your program and leading it.
Is he really 242 right now?
I think that is what he weighs.
Holy cow.
Great job in the weight room. He's worked really hard. He's a multi-sport athlete coming out of high school, and so he's really focused on that. It's important to him to have his body right, to be durable. He's revamped some of his throwing things. He's done a lot of work to get to where he is. He certainly is blessed with talent, but he's done a lot of work to get to this point, and we're hoping that he has a great season.
How much is this a champion for you on recruiting? That in the era now that we're at, and it's in Division II ranks, obviously with the portal, that you can put the work in and find a guy off the beaten path that maybe nobody else was looking at?
Well, I think it's definitely something that I would like to think that people take a look at us for and say, hey, we can develop players, and players want to stay here, not just for the football, but the other things. Yeah. And so not just maybe a quarterback, but I think wide receivers jump to the top of the list of those things. And we talked about, in Jack's case, it's very similar to, I think, Steph Curry's path in the sense of Steph Curry was at Davidson. And could he maybe have been some other places? Yeah, but he was at Davidson because it was the right fit, because it got him a lot of reps. And so in whatever his 4 years at Davidson, he got a lot of development. Well, Jack Strand threw average of over 40 drop back passes, not play action, not RPO screens, but over 40 drop back passes last year per game. Well, if you look at what some of the other potential NFL quarterbacks, if they're getting 20 drop backs in a game, that's probably on the high end. And so his development for the next level is at twice the pace as other quarterbacks that maybe are in the same situation are. And so I do think there's an advantage to what we're doing here, if that's, an opportunity that may be there for quarterbacks in the future.
On the flip side of you're talking your experience, were there any true freshmen that developed during camp say, we got to play you like this, or these guys maybe surprised you say they can help us win right away?
Yeah, I think we've got a good group of guys, I think definitely that are going to play on special teams. I think there's some guys that are going to have a role on offense and defense, maybe not a huge role right away, but I think as they grow and they get their feet under them, I think we have to be smart about, hey, bringing them along to getting them to that point. I think, going in and saying, hey, you're going to be in a starting role right out the gate, that's probably, we won't have guys like that. But I do think we have guys that, hey, come week 4, week 5, they might be in a situation to be able to do that. They're certainly talented enough, and I think that's exciting looking forward to the future.
Is that when you look at your recruiting, going back to the recruitment piece, we're recruiting better athletes that can play right away? It's not necessarily maybe the guys that aren't talented here. We're getting better guys now.
Well, better guys, or we're hitting at a higher rate. Yeah. I think, the last 2 years, I felt like we've done a really good job in recruiting. And there was some talk about this in the sense of how the recruiting process, the timeline is sped up. And so, we're at, I think, 19 commitments right now, which is a month sooner than what it was a year ago. A year ago, we were a month sooner than what it was before that. So it's 2 months, in advance. Now, is it because the line is speeding up, the timeline for everybody, or, are we doing a better job and we're maybe getting some of the first choices and they're saying yes, and we're not kind of getting into the next kind of round of guys? I don't know. But I certainly think Coach Needham's done a great job with the recruiting, and we found a wheelhouse of the type of guys that fit our system.
All right, let's give the defense some love. Tell us about that side of the ball and what you're really hoping to see, or some experienced guys that can step up in 2025.
Well, I think definitely our back end defensive back group is as talented as I think it's been. And that's not been something I think I've probably said in the last decade on this show. That's always the place you're maybe holding your breath. But I feel like that's a really good group. Cody Sorensen back for his 6th year, Mikhail Pearson, like really good players. Tate Gustafson at linebacker, I think, is poised and ready to have another big season. I think he came on as the season went, and I think he's played at a really high level. And so I think that back seven has got a lot of leadership, a lot of potential. That's going to be important because our front four, the D-line, you know what, they've had a lot to replace from last year. And so I think there's some talent there. I think there's some ability, but it's going to have to be proven. I think, you know, a guy like Denver Piowski is going to have to show up and play well. He did the last half of the year. Well, he's going to have to be a difference maker, and he was, but now he's going to have to do it on a regular basis.
Gosh, I'm old. I remember all these guys playing in high school. Now they're like juniors and seniors for you. That's crazy.
Well, the crazy thing is, I just mentioned Denver Piowski. Yeah. He's kind of lives diagonally as my neighbor, and so I remember him running around playing tag, go seek in our backyard too. So it's obviously I'm not getting any younger.
Yeah, I remember we did a game of the week with him. He just dominated for Davies in 2020. I want to say it was just wild. So it might have been you probably were there recruiting if I remember right.
Yeah, he hit the sack record in half the season.
That's pretty darn good. So the longest you've ever been on a bus is what? This is 9. You told me. Is this the longest?
This probably, I think, is going to be the longest trip that I've been on a bus. And so I got a new audio book that popped in my Libby ad that just I've been waiting for a week or so. So I got that. We'll see if we get into that or not. I don't know. I got to re-listen to one that I'm just finishing.
So does guys have like control of the movies? You have any input on that? I know you're very cultured these days. I know you watch a lot of stuff.
I usually don't have input. That's probably the only time I see movies. If they're old enough, they make a DVD on the bus. So yeah, we'll do some, since it's a long trip, and it's the day before, we'll do some one-on-ones with players and get a chance to connect and just see how things are going, not just football, but life-wise. And so I enjoy those moments of just kind of hanging out and, you know, and then you transition into a business like trip and make sure you get done what needs to get done.
You mentioned, we were talking off air, the dome where you're playing has a different kind of turf that you had to adjust for, correct?
Yeah, it's not something I realized. I kind of simple-minded me assumed every dome had the same kind of field turf you use your regular cleats on. And so this is a field turf that's like the one in Vermilion. And so the regular turf cleat shoes don't work. And so we had to figure out how to get different shoes to the guys that they're probably only going to use for one game. And thank goodness we had an awesome donor that saw a need, that wanted to be able to help out. And this is a great way to be able to do that. And so the guys have been breaking those in here the last couple of weeks. And I told them, hey, bring those shoes, bring basketball shoes, bring your normal shoes. We'll get in there and we'll figure out which ones you like best, but let's make sure that's not an issue of the game. Let's just play free.
Did you have any issues with that when you were playing days about your footwear?
Well, when you stand on the sideline, most of the time you don't have to worry about great traffic on your shoes. And when I was in there, it was AstroTurf. So you just throw on shoes and, you know, that stuff.
It was concrete. Just say what it was. It was concrete on the dome floor.
We'll say it was steel wool. That stuff left turf burns. And when you got knocked down a lot, like myself, I had plenty of whatever field turf burns.
You were hustling back and you needed your cleats. You were going up and down the sideline, right?
Yeah. You just got to wave the towel, get the crowd going in there on third down.
Oh, man. It's great to see you. We're really pumped to be doing this again every Tuesday. Safe travels. Good luck on Thursday night. We'll talk next week, okay?
That sounds great. Thank you.
There he goes. Steve Laqua joining us, MSUM head football coach. Dragons opener Thursday night at the Superior Dome in Northern Michigan. That's in Marquette for the Dragon opener. That's a 5 o'clock kick Central Time Thursday night at Northern Michigan. Did you know I did not know, Eric, that they had a dome there. That was something I found out last week. Yeah, they have a dome. So the Dragons playing indoor. I got to go back. The last time maybe Big E knows us. The last time the Dragons played an indoor football game, it might have been when the old NSIC played their final games at the Metrodome. It's been a while since the Dragons played indoors. We'll take our final break. We come back. We'll put a bow on things and get you ready for a busy Sports Tuesday. Hot Mike will wrap right after this.